Hey everybody, good afternoon. How are we doing? I'm just gonna open the chat so I can see everyone. So, it's a very, very warm day here in Nottingham. But just before I do the hellos and welcomes, obviously, today is a significant day. I'm very conscious of that fact. I debated whether I should even do a Cuppa catch-up and cards, but I think we as a community serve each other best when we are together and able to process and talk. So whilst I have a kind of an itinerary of things to discuss, including a tag during today's Cuppa catch-up and cards, it would be terribly remiss of me not to acknowledge and pay tribute to 3,000 souls who lost their lives 20 years ago today. And that's whether, they were in the Twin Towers, whether there was on Flight 93 that crashed at Pennsylvania, whether it was people within military and civilian life in the Pentagon, or whether it was those poor souls that were on board all of those aircrafts. Not only those people who lost their lives, but the countless thousands of other people who have been affected by that devastation and that loss. So it's a heavy day. I've watched the tributes live on Sky News, and it's been a bittersweet day because in Nottingham today it is Pride. And it's the first Pride meeting since before the very first lockdown. So I met a friend for coffee this morning, saw some of the parade. And yeah, it feels like a strange day, really, for them to decide to do Pride. I get that they wanted to get to the end of summer. But, forefront in my mind, really, is what happened 20 years ago. It's etched in my mind forever, as I'm sure it is many, many people. My own kind of personal experience of it, and I'm one of the lucky ones, was that I was married at the time, but we had separated. My wife, as many of you will know, is American, or was American, I should say. And we had separated earlier in the year of 2001. And September the 10th, 2001, we'd gone out for a meal because she was flying home the next day. And she was flying back to Utah, but with a stopover in New York. And we had a lovely meal. It was one of the most, and I've always said it, no ill feelings or anything, one of the most amicable separations, which I'm very fortunate about that. Everything was fine. We had, other than the fact that the marriage was ending, we had this lovely evening together. We watched a film. We went for an Indian curry at a place where she'd worked while she was over here. But she was on an American Airlines jet heading into New York when the first towers hit. Thankfully, she was, about an hour and 20 minutes, I believe, from New York. But her flight was redirected. But for 3 days, there was no information. And even though she and I had separated on good terms, it was very different with her family, and they wouldn't give me any information at all. But 3 days later, when she called to say she was back on American soil, her flight had been turned around and she'd spent 3 nights sleeping on an airport floor in Brussels, because obviously America, quite rightly, closed down all their airspace and stuff. So I've got very strong memories of that time, as I'm sure many people have. But if it's okay with everybody, and I don't do this very often, but I think it would be quite fitting to do it, is just if you'll join me just in 1 minute of silence, just to as I say, acknowledge and pay tribute to not just the 3,000 people who lost their lives, although, you know, we need to keep them forefront in our minds, but everybody that's been affected by this tragedy. So if that's okay with everyone, I'm just going to take 1 minute for us just to reflect. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Was lovely just to see the chat stop, you know, and for us to collectively come together. It's really hard, isn't it, when we're all in different parts of the world, but I think it's nice that we can use the advancements of technology. Even in those last 20 years, I can remember ringing America, you know, and having to use one tel to try and connect and things like that. And now we can do it instantly, can't we? And we can see people and we can have face-to-face connections. So you're welcome, Caroline. And I know you're very close to that situation as well, as are so many people. So yeah, I just appreciated, you know, the fact that we can come together and we can pay tribute and acknowledge this day, really. I'm trying not to watch. I did watch a program the other day, which was Inside the President's War Office, which was a minute-by-minute account of following George W. Bush around. Is George Bush Jr.? Is George W. Bush the father? I always get my two mixed up. But anyway, President Bush at the time, and how his War Office actually went with him on Air Force One and different underground barracks and things like that. And it was fascinating to watch that aspect. But I found that over the last 20 years, and I remember the 10-year anniversary, you know, there was lots of footage, and it's really important that we never forget. But it can be, you know, if you are quite empathic, it can be quite a lot to take in. So it was nice to watch the tributes live from New York and the Pentagon earlier today. So George H.W. Bush father, George W. Bush is the incompetent son. Yeah. Although, I mean, I'm not a Bush fan at all, but one thing that I admired watching that Inside the President's War Office was just how he was desperate to get back to the White House. He didn't want to be in the air on Air Force One flying around, and he really sort of had to put his foot down, you know, and use his presidential weight to say, enough, we need to go back. We need to be with the people. They need to hear from me. And that showed leadership for me. That aside, I'm not a fan, but you know, you get a true essence of someone's nature when the chips are down and terrible atrocities like that happen, just how they kind of react and respond. So yeah. So, and also I wanted to say, it feels it's quite a day, isn't it? And as I said, you know, today in Nottingham, it's Nottingham Pride. And I always want to give thanks to people who have campaigned for the last 50 plus years for equality. And I know that in some parts of the world, you know, they don't have that luxury of equality. And I'm always mindful of that as well. But I'm really grateful for, like, you know, the lobby group Stonewall and all their work, and that's different to the Stonewall riots, although that's where they took the name. And from the Stonewall riots of 1969, you know, we started to get the gay rights movements and stuff. But it was nice. As I said, it was very bittersweet because it's a somber day. But the way that they've done it this year is they haven't got a stage area, they haven't got musicians playing, they've just kind of themed all the bars and cafes and shops in our Hockley area. And those of you who remembers the Nottingham Tarot meetup 2 years ago, there's lots of photographs of Al Becker and people like Dan walking across the rainbow zebra crossings, because all the zebra crossings in the Hockley area, which is a suburb within, not a suburb, because that's on the outskirts, an area within the city where the crossings, which are usually black and white, are in the rainbow flags. But I took a couple of pictures. So this is our town hall. I should have blacked myself out really so you can see that a little bit better. But our town hall is flying the pride flag today, and this is it from a little bit lower down. So there is it says love is love, and it says Nottingham Pride, and that was people kind of just starting to congregate. And then it got very busy with lots of people wearing the rainbow flags, the lesbian flags, trans flags. It was really nice, and a really nice kind of atmosphere. So me and a friend went down, had a coffee, and just had a wander around and seeing what some of the shops and cafe bars had done to you know, celebrate Pride Day. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing this morning. And I bought a couple of books that I'm going to share as well. And then I am going to do the Hello Again tag, which was started by Kasha over at Tarot Map. If you're watching this back, then do check out the description below, because I will timestamp it, because there are people who's just going to want to see the tag and they don't want to have to sit through perhaps 45 minutes or whatever and me kind of waffling on and talking about books. So if you are here because you want to watch the response to the tarot tag, then check out the description below, and there'll be timestamps where you can move the cursor to that part. Oh, I can see people saying hello to Candy. Hello, Candy. If you come back next week, everybody, Candy will be joining me next Saturday for a catching up with. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with Candy. And I didn't do the hellos, did I? And now there's 71 people in chat, but I suppose I ought to just do a collective hello to everybody and welcome. I was so kind of, when I came in, mindful of the day and what the day's about, that, you know, I went kind of straight into to doing the little bit of a tribute. But hello to everybody. I'll be bringing my Candy to listen to Candy, says Robin. Yes, similar experience. I was no longer working in the city by then, but so close by, and so many that I work in my field were amongst the lost. Oh, Heme. It's incomprehensible. And, you know, this isn't to take anything away from it, but I often think as well, because of the timing, could you imagine if it had been the afternoon or something like that, how many more lives could have been lost? And again, that's not to diminish or take away from what, because that number is, you know, when you think of the amount of lives lost, it's heartbreaking. Justin says, I was a freshman in college. Best friend was Sutton Hall University. A week after 9/11, I visited my friend and looked at the rubble from the cliff overlooking Manhattan. Never forget that smell. Yeah, yeah. And if I do make it to New York next year, I really do want to pay tribute there if I can in some way. I don't know how. It's difficult, isn't it? I can always remember once having the opportunity there was talk of people going to Poland a few years ago, probably about 15 years ago now. And there was talking about, going to Auschwitz, and I'm always kind of in that sort of conflict of, I don't want things to be touristy, but at the same time, I think it's vitally important that we have lasting memorials. Vitally important. I always understand, and I hear people saying, "Oh, I don't like it when that happens." If there's life been lost on a particular road or something, and flowers are laid, and it becomes almost a shrine. I understand it. People need a way to kind of express their grief and have somewhere to go. But when they was talking about, going to Auschwitz, I just remember saying, well, if we do go, it needs to be on the last day. It has to be on the last day, because I know how heavy the atmosphere can be there. And, it's you don't go there I hope people don't go there, for curiosity or anything like that. I hope that people go there because I think every generation that comes needs to have that in their minds, because we have to learn from history. That's all we can do with history. We can't go back into history. We have to learn from history. Yeah, and as Nancy says, it's a way of coping. It helps you to process. Elizabeth said, I remember this day as so many of us do. My sister lived in New York at the time, and it took time to get hold of her. I sat on my sofa and saw the live second plane hit the... Yeah, I was talking to a friend yesterday who I work with, and we've all got our memories, haven't we, of where we were. I remember the day vividly, getting a call from my mum as I was driving back from Nottingham. I lived in another little town in Derbyshire at the time. And as I said, I just the night before saw my wife off, and she rang to say that one of then it was a plane has crashed into one of the towers at the World Trade Center. And I remember getting home and putting the TV on and just looking at the pictures in total sort of astonishment. And then I'd only just put the telly on and I saw the second tower hit, and it was at that point everybody knew that this was an attack on the West. So, yeah, awful. My son and I went to Auschwitz 2 years ago. It was a very sobering experience, something that should never be forgotten. Yeah, we've got a Holocaust Memorial Centre in Nottinghamshire. And I went there once. It was to do with work, because I was on the Equalities Committee, and there was unveiling the Pink Triangle Memorial, and they dedicated a garden with this Pink Triangle Memorial in there. And it was the first time that they'd, were kind of remembering and honouring those people from the LGBTQ plus community that also lost their lives. And there was an incredible speaker, and I bought his book and he signed it. It's probably passed on now because he was in his late 80s then. And his name was Yanni Kowalski. And he was very young at the time, and he was trans, and he presented as female. He now, or if he's still with us, presents as male, but at the time presented as female. And he survived Auschwitz, where every single member of his family didn't. But the reason why he survived was because one of the SS officers took a shine to him. And whilst everybody else thought that Yanni was female, this SS officer pulled her at the time out of the crowd and put his hand up her dress, felt the private parts, And Yanni said, at that moment, I expected, to be beaten to death, and instead was taken to live with this officer in his private residential area. And that's how Yanni survived. And the book, I think it's called Liebe Macht Frei, which, as a kind of play on the work sets you free. And it was retitled Love Sets You Free, because even though he was very young, I think about 14 at the time, actually fell in love with this person who did such terrible atrocities. But of course, when you're that age, you're so impressionable, aren't you? But it's a fascinating book, and I'll never part with it. But hearing his story, and even though, it was at the time probably 70 years on, would that be right? No, maybe 60 plus years, 65 years maybe later, he broke down retelling the tale, his story, his life story. And it was a difficult day. But as Elaine said, we have to never let things like the memory of today with 9/11 and the Holocaust and the terrible things that happen. We have to remember, we have to keep educating and people that come after us, because sadly history repeats. It's cyclical, it repeats, and we have a duty to make sure that doesn't happen. Hello, beautiful June. How nice to see you. I hope you're doing okay. So today I went to a bookshop because, before that, I don't know if anybody saw my live on Monday with Gerald. I was over on Tarot Stash, and we did, he calls them casuals, on the Archeo, and we talked about our favourite cards. I pulled out quite a lot actually, and in our kind of email exchange before, I didn't really ask how many favorite cards I should pull out, and I pulled out 18, thinking, oh, that should be enough. And I had to actually not show some because we was running out of time. But the deck's by Nick Bantock, the Archeo. And he started to talk about a series of books called Griffin and Sabine, and then Sabine's Notebook, and one or two others. So I was able to get it. And this is the 25th anniversary limited edition. And it's my Sunday project, because I'm going to read it on Sunday. But it's this beautiful book with postcards on them. And it tells the story, the correspondence between Griffin and Sabine. And then on certain pages, like here, you get an envelope. And when you open it up, there is a letter on the inside that you can read. And it's, like I said, I've not read it yet, but I've had a quick skim through, and it's really an interesting concept. Look at this. So this has a little card on the inside, and it's done in handwriting. So it's almost like a junk journal, but it's correspondence between these two people. And I will get the other. And when I was in the bookshop today, I thought, well, if I see Sabine's Notebook, which is the second one, I'll pick it up. But they don't stock any of them, ironically. So, but they're pretty much available. And I didn't pay a lot for this. I think I paid about £12, which is really, really good. So Griffin and Sabine, an extraordinary correspondence. It's the 25-year anniversary limited edition. So I got that. And then, I don't know if you remember, back in July, I bought a book called The Lost Spells. And when I was in, and that's Robert McFarlane's Lost Spells. When I was in Waterstones at the time, I'd asked about the book prior to that, which was called The Lost Words, but they didn't have any in stock. So because I'd met this friend this morning, we went for a coffee and we went down into Hockley area. We went to a couple of little cafes and things. And then we finished up going into Waterstones, which is in the same area, just to have a browse around the books. This is a huge book. They'd got about 3 copies in, and this is The Lost Words. And this is an award-winning book. It's Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris. Now, the idea behind The Lost Words is that the Oxford Children's Dictionary have removed, I think it's about 40 words from the dictionary, and replaced them with words that are more modern, very much linked to modern technology and mobile phone use and gaming and things like that. So, I mean, you have such an ability gift where your words are so healing. Oh, well, thank you. That's a really lovely thing to say, Nancy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. The Velveteen, the Venetians. I thought you were going to talk about the Velveteen Rabbit then, which is one of my favorites. If you like Griffin and Sabine books, try The Venetian's Wife. That one is amazing. I'll have to try and remember. I should have brought a pen and paper, really, so I can write it down. But yeah, so these words that have been taken out of the Oxford Children's Dictionary, the idea was to create a book called The Lost Words that kind of puts those words back into the minds of our children. And can you believe some of the words? Acorn, gone, not relevant. And it's unbelievable. But again, like it's gonna be hard to show this, like the lost spells, the artwork in this book is incredible. Let me show you. We need acorn, right? Starling, raven. I mean, look at the illustration for raven. Look how beautiful that is. And it's they're beautiful. They're still called spells, but beautiful, beautiful artwork as well. Where's the one that I saw earlier? And it absolutely, with the hair, it took my breath away. I'll tell you what the words are in a moment. Oh, look at the magpie. And the sad thing is, the words that have been taken are nature-based words. You know, to do with birds and plants and trees. And isn't it a sad indictment of the fact that our kids now don't go outside, don't know what a magpie is, don't know what an acorn can achieve, and instead are on their mobile phones or on computer games. It's heartbreaking. It really is. And if you really sit and think about it, you could weep. I know I could. Where's this picture? I opened it up. Oh, look at this. Isn't that just beautiful? I'm trying to not get too much of a bright light on it. Wait, where has the author got these words from? How have they been deemed them as lost? Because they've been taken out of the Oxford Children's Dictionary, Chris. Okay, so I could show you all the pictures, but I won't. So let's see what on the back it says. Once upon a time, words began to vanish from the language children. They disappeared so quietly that at first almost no one noticed, until one day they were gone. But there's an old kind of magic for finding what is missing and for summoning what has vanished. If the right spells are spoken, the lost words might return. I feel quite emotional. And it talks about Robert Macfarlane, a fellow of Cambridge, and then Jackie Morris, who's the artist from Hereford College of Arts in Bath. I'll just read you the first chapter. It says, once upon a time, words and look at the picture for the first chapter. How beautiful that is. Once upon a time, words began to vanish from the language of children. They disappeared so quietly that at first almost no one noticed, fading away like water on stone. The words were those that children used to name the natural world around them: acorn, adder, bluebell, bramble, conker. Gone. Fern, heather, kingfisher, otter, raven, willow, wren. All of them gone. The words were becoming lost, no longer vivid in children's voices, no longer alive in their stories. You hold in your hands a spell book for conjuring back these lost words. To read it, you will need to seek, find, and speak. It deals in things that are missing and things that are hidden, in absences and in appearances. It is told in gold. The gold of the goldfinches that flit through its pages in charms. And it holds not poems, but spells of many kinds that might, just might, by the old strong magic of being spoken aloud, unfold dreams and songs and summon lost words back into the mouth and the mind's eye. And then it goes into each one, starting with acorn. And it's just wonderful. So yeah, I'm going to have a read through that. I don't know where I'm going to store this because I don't have a bookshelf. When you consider an average size book, let me find an average size book. That's how big it is. So I am going to have to, sorry for being so close and personal. I'm going to have to find somewhere to store that. Hello, Richie. There's a music project attached to this book too. There is, David. You're absolutely right. I've been reading about that. It looks like a coffee table book. Yeah, I don't have a coffee table. I used to, but then my front room looked a little bit too cluttered. So I got rid of it and put a poofy there instead. Maybe I should get a coffee table just to put this book on. Elizabeth says, wait, utter bluebell. So they are telling us that the humanity in UK no longer uses these words. Children don't use these words. So this is the distinction. It hasn't gone from the Oxford English Dictionary, but they have been removed from the Oxford Children's English Dictionary, which is just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. But I know etymology and everything and how words evolve and, you know, how new words. I can always remember about 5 or 6 years ago when selfie was added to the dictionary and stuff like this. You know, we have to move with the times, but come on. Bluebell, otter, acorn, kingfisher. Do we really need to lose them? And I see kids as part of my working life, and they really are, you know, eyes down on the phones constantly. Just yesterday, no, it was this morning. I was coming back from meeting my friend for coffee for Pride, and I was coming back through the shopping centre, and there was this girl walking towards me, and I could see, because it's a shopping centre, people on the left of me were walking a little bit faster than me. People on the right of me were coming in this direction. There was all people about, and she was right in my, you know, eye line of walking towards me, and she was like this, walking, not even looking where she was going. And I was like, she's just going to walk straight into me unless I, you know, bash into these people here. And didn't even when I said, excuse me, and she just didn't even look up. She just walked around me. And I was like, what's going on? What is going on? So it's not surprising that these words are disappearing, but it is upsetting at the same time that these words these words are disappearing. Simon, I think we're all heads down on phone these days, are we not, just kids? Yeah, there are people of all ages. I try and be present when I'm out and about, because I love being outdoors, because I live in the clouds, literally. So high up, I don't have outdoor space. So when I'm outdoors, I really try and drink it in. That said, I'm also a vlogger. So rather than having the phone here, though, I tend to have it like that. But I also try and have that balance between looking through a lens and also savouring the actual moment. So I'm thinking like the Glastonbury trip quite recently. There was lots of vlogging, but also there was lots of time, like when at the top of the tour, where my phone was in my pocket and I was just drinking in, what I was feeling and seeing and experiencing. And I do remember once a vital lesson taught to me was the first time I went to see Erasure, because I'm a huge Erasure fan. I'm seeing them next month, actually. And spending the concert again, like, oh, this is my favourite song. And doing this and looking at them through this tiny little screen rather than looking at them in real life. And then I thought, this will be great. I'll post it on Facebook. I've never watched it. I've never once gone on there and think, well, let's watch them perform drama again. So the next time I went, and I've seen them 4 times. I think next month will be the 5th time I've seen them. Next time I went, I didn't even take my phone out of my pocket. I just was very present, and I sang along and I danced and everything else, and it was so much better experiencing it through, not through a lens. But we see it, don't we? There's a very powerful YouTube video actually where it shows really important moments of people's lives and how they're like this, holding it and filming it. And who is it for? Simon, with our new technology, as wonderful as it is, the beautiful world around us is now disappearing. Yeah, because actually, whilst we might feel that we're preserving it through the lens, and we are to some degree, we're capturing moments in time, the world around us, the physical world, needs to be experienced, actually experienced, for us to fully appreciate it. The best gig I ever went to was Jack White concert, and they made us lock our phones before entering. Yeah. That's true. What Robin says as well, enjoy the concert. Someone else will always be there to video and post and watch later. Yeah, you're right. I've seen them on YouTube from a different perspective, different angle. But yeah, it's so much better experiencing it, in real life, not through a lens. So Stephanie says the best. Oh no, that's the same. Sorry, Stephanie. At concerts, I take selfie with the people I am with, and then goes in my bag. Yeah. But as Richard and Stephanie, who are both in the chat now, last month we was together at Glastonbury, and whilst there was a certain amount of vlogging, I'm sure we'll all testify that we all had those moments where the phones are away and we're experiencing what we're experiencing, whether that's in the shops or sitting in the Chalice Well Gardens or at the top of the tour. It's important to find a balance. Ever since I can remember, we've taken photographs on holidays and things because you want your little souvenirs and your snapshots, and it's great to look back. And when you're in the future at a certain point and you look back, when I look back at my childhood holiday snaps now, I'm filled with nostalgia and like, oh, look how that building looked then, and look how that street looked then, and how it's changed. So it's great for that. But also there is that you've got your memories, and your memories are just as important of actual lived experiences. On a positive side, lots of young people are becoming allies of the planet. They are. I just wish there was more of them. I really do, you know, and it's reassuring and heartwarming to hear about people who are kind of becoming quite environmentally focused. But there's an awful lot who aren't as well. Yeah. Hi, Ben. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing okay. Candy says the kids don't remember games they played on technology, but they sure do remember our walks on the beach. Yeah. And the hours you can lose. I used to be, in my early 20s, I guess the term now is a gamer, but you never said gamer back then. But you know, I used to have all the consoles back then. They kind of Super Mario. So I had my Nintendo, and I had my Sega Master System to play Sonic and all that sort of stuff, and Nintendo 64, and I loved it. But I can remember once, not going to bed till like 3 a.m. because I needed to complete this particular level. And the hours I spent on those gaming systems. Do any parents ever say go out and play anymore? Probably not, Robin. Probably that's why we don't have, they're not aware of words like acorn, dandelion. Oh, I said I was going to tell you the words, didn't I? Before I move on to my other book. So the words are acorn, adder, bluebell. Look at that beautiful bluebell. Oh, Becca, picture for you. Look at that. Fox and an owl. Isn't that gorgeous? Atari. Bramble. I mean, bramble. Come on. Conker. Dandelion. Probably because it's not safe to let your kids go out and play anymore. Do you know what? It wasn't that safe. When I was a kid, I can always remember, well, I'm not going to repeat it, but there was a situation. We used to live on the back of some waste ground, and then there was a ditch, and then you went up and it was the M1, which was very quiet back then. And some friends of mine with me were playing, and we were building a den in the ditch, and this man came along and said something along the lines of, if you put your hand down my trousers, I'll give you, I think it was like 20p back then, which was a lot of money. And I was all running home, and other things that happened to another friend of mine. So I think it's about how we educate as well, We don't seem to have those public service announcements now that say about stranger danger. We don't drill that in as much. Hey, Brant, nice to see you. Heather. Heron. Ivy. These are just, out of nature. Kingfisher. Well, let's read this. Kingfisher, the colour giver, firebringer, flame flicker, rivers quiver, ink black bill, orange throat, and a quick blue back gleaming feather stream. Neat and still it sits on the snag of a stick until, with gold flare, wing fan, whip crack, the kingfisher, zingfisher, singfisher, flashes down too fast to follow, quick and quicker carves its hollow. In the water, slings its arrow super swift to swallow, stickleback or shrimp or minnow. Evening angler, weather teller, rain bringer, and rainbow bird that sets the stream alight with burn and glitter. Gorgeous. Oh wow, look at the double pager. The art in this book is phenomenal, but it is in the Lost Spells as well. And the Lost Spells isn't half the size of this. Lark. Oh, little astronaut, where have you gone? And how is your song still torrenting on? I love it. Magpie. Newt. Newt, oh Newt, you are too cute. Otter. I showed that. Beautiful, beautiful otters. What else have we got? Raven. Beautiful poetry. Well, spells, not just poetry, because the idea is to say these aloud so that you're putting it out there as a spell, so that they come back into language. Starling. Look at all them. How can you eliminate otter? How can we eliminate any of these? Weasel. Weasel whirls through the world like wildflower. Embers spin, smoke curls for weasel. Axe on land like spark on tinder. Scorches grass, turns field to pyre. Sand to glass, tree to cinder. Eats air, burns shadow. Lights the sky, hot wires the sun with its speed, its dance, its gyres. Thank you, Bran. Willow. Willow. It breaks my heart. Look at this beautiful tree with the moon underneath. Isn't that just stunning? Wren. And there we have it. The Lost Words. And it says here, a proportion of the royalties from each copy of The Lost Words will be donated to Action for Conservation, a charity dedicated to inspiring young people to take action for the natural world and to the next generation of conservationists. More information on AFC's work with disadvantaged and socially excluded children can be found at actionforconservation.org. And then a free explorer's guide to the lost words written by Eva John and intended specially, but not only, for use by teachers and educators can be found at, and there's a whole link there. So that's the second book. And then the last book I got, which I saw a couple of months ago and I didn't buy it, but I said to myself, if I come back, I will get it, is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. Has anybody seen this? It's a book about not giving up. And it's author of Midnight Library, but it's the #1 bestseller. Nothing is stronger than a small hope that doesn't give up. And I love these kind of books because the beauty of these is that it's just little snippets that you can just dip in and out of. Of course, you can read it from cover to cover, but you know, if you are anxious, and even without the dust cover, look how beautiful this book is. But if you are, you know, feeling quite anxious or, you know, in a state of experiencing fear or worry, sometimes the last thing you want to do is sit down with a book that's like 300 pages or whatever. So you can just pick this up, open it up. I've just opened it up here, page 91, and it says Elements of Hope. Earth, water, fire, air, everything connects. Everything in the universe relates to every other thing in the universe. Yes. Haven't we just been talking about that the whole time? You know, how many times have I sat here and said, my belief, the interconnection of everything, Idra's web, you know, there's nothing that separates us. Nothing. You can't say A is made of B or vice versa, said the physicist Richard Feynman. All mass is interaction, and maybe What is true for matter is true for psychology and our emotional selves. Pain connects to pleasure through time. A pleasurable present evolves and connects to the pain of grief when it becomes a memory. But so too, inside deep despair, the knowledge of better times can help you get through. And sometimes, even within those moments of despair, we can reach pleasure via the despair. I have to be careful how I phrase this, as I'm not entirely sure I understand it, but there is a kind of pleasure I knew from inside my depression. And I don't mean to diminish the depression. It was intense and life-threatening, and I wanted it to end, and had no idea when or how it would. But despite that, no, because of that, when I experienced a moment of beauty or relief, it would take on so much power. The night sky would almost sing with beauty. A kiss or a hug would be magnified with meaning. It was almost as though, in those moments, life outside my mind sensed the destructive force within me and was trying to combat it with wonder. And the last bit is, consider how every human body contains trace elements such as copper and zinc and gold, amid the massive amounts of carbon and oxygen and hydrogen. Similarly, if we could analyze every negative experience we've ever had, we would find vast quantities of emotions such as fear and despair, and also trace elements of other things: joy, hope, love, happiness. And in the darkest, even the tiniest fragments of light can shine, capture our attention, and maybe even lead us home. Whew. And there's even little things like on this page. I love this. It just says delete the italics. So it has phrases like, I am not enough. Sorry, I am not popular enough. I am not good enough. I am not strong enough. I am not lovable enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not cool enough. I'm not hot enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not funny enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not Oxford enough. I'm not literary enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not posh enough. I'm not young enough. I am not tough enough. And we do that. These are the inner dialogues we have. I am not well traveled enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not cultured enough. I'm not smooth skinned enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not muscular enough. I'm not famous enough. I'm not interesting enough. I am not worth enough. And then on the next page, when you take out the italics, it just says, I am enough. So it's a beautiful book, and I love it. I sat in the shop because you can sit down. They've got little tables and chairs, and you can pick a book and have a look through. And I just dipped in and out of this, and I can't remember why at the time I didn't get it, but I thought afterwards, if I go back, I'm going to pick it up if it's still there. What was that? Self-forgiveness makes the world better. You don't become a good person by believing you are a bad one. So yeah, so this book is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. It's 260 pages, but it is one of those books that you can just, gosh, and it hits you. I just opened that, one sentence, power. The most powerful moment in life is when you decide not to be scared anymore. Fear can be a real crippling, debilitating state of mind. It really can. And I can relate. Hi, Jen. I usually try to get up an hour before CC&C, so I'm waking up to chat, but I slept in today. It's Saturday. You're entitled to sleep in. So, okay, shall we have a look at Hello Again? I've got half an hour left. It's lovely to be here, even on the most serious occasions. Yeah, I mean, today has been a very different kind of CC&C with the kind of tribute and the minute silent we had at the beginning. and everything else that we've talked about. But, you know, that's what the community is about. And for those people out there who say there's no such thing as a community, well, I don't agree. I never will agree. And community are people who are come together and share experiences, which is exactly what we've done. I've just been here lurking the whole time though. Right, so this tag was started by our lovely Kasha over at Tarot Map, and the hashtag is, he says looking at his computer because there's a bit added, I just wanted to say hashtag hello again, but it's hashtag HelloAgainTarot, and there are 3 prompts, and I have cheated a little bit because I've got 2 decks for the first one because I couldn't decide between the 2, but that's the only one I have cheated with. I've seen 1 or 2 VRs to this, and I think Kasha probably put it out about 2 weeks ago. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Patrice says, I'm so grateful for this community and our beautiful Simon. And do you know what, Patrice? Light reflects, and you are beautiful too. Really are beautiful. You are one of the loveliest people, and that, you know, that transcends the screen and technology. You can feel it. So thank you, and right back at you. Okay, so the first prompt is called Hello Again, and it's an old deck that you either use again or you're still using. So I went back to when I first started the channel and I looked at decks that I was using back then, and I was surprised actually that one in particular that I've had all this time, but my reading space is here, so obviously I've turned that way because this is my desk area, but these 2 decks haven't left my reading space in over 5 years. They've never gone onto the shelf. They've always been here. So you've probably heard me talk about them so much, but I don't care. I've got to mention them. Love this community too. Everyone here always makes me smile. Right back at you, Ben. I mean, you're the king of making people smile with your little funny ditties and things on your videos. So the first one, because there's 2, and I couldn't pick one over the other because they've both been here all the time, is a classic in every sense of the word. Even the art is classic art. It is beautiful. And of course, I'm talking about Pagan Otherworlds. These are the back, everything. This is such a sensory experience of a deck. Even from the box, let me get the box. You're going to see my legs because I've only got little shorts on, but sorry about that. So the box is so stylish and classy. It's raised. You can feel the quality of this. I learned from watching somebody else do an unboxing to not break the seal and that you could open it from behind. Thank goodness for that, because, and this has got a deck in it as well. This is the one that's gold edge, because I get, as you know, I get backup copies of my favorite decks. But this, it's quite a large deck. It's larger than a standard. Oh, you saucy bitch, getting the legs out. I should charge. I'd get broke. I'd end up paying out refunds. This is a US Games standard tarot size. You can see it's taller and wider, more taller than it is wider than a standard. So it's a really nice size, but the art in this deck is all your paints. It is classic art. It is beautiful. The linen, nobody, when Uzi brought this deck out, Pagan Otherworlds, nobody had felt linen like this before. So, and there are more decks now like this, but it was just the whole shuffling experience, the tactile feel of this deck is everything. This is the one I edged in metallic blue because I just thought, I've got blue and gold on the back, so I did one in gold and one in blue, but the blue is the one I tend to work with the most. We got asked that once, remember? We did, Becca. I wonder if we'd done it. Well, we would have done it. Oh, done it. I take back what I've just said. But I wonder if we'd kind of like been a little bit saucy with them, whether we'd get a percentage of this 444 coinage thing. Done it. Oh dear. Yeah. So I mean, I do believe that this is one of the most beautiful decks ever made. It is just absolutely beautiful. They're like oil paintings you'd see in some beautiful art gallery somewhere. Just stunning. Look at the Emperor. This is the additional card, which is the Seeker card. Here's our Fool. And it's a semi-pip deck. It's half semi. Was supposed to be their Eros set. I've got their Eros set, Sluggo. I love it. I really love it. Becca's putting vomit faces. All right, Becca. So you can see that it's pippish, but you know, here's our 7 of Cups. So there are those kind of. It was seen as a bit like a hybrid deck between illustration and pips. Oh, Simon, lovely blue edging on the Pagan Otherworlds. What colour and make pen did you use? It was Winsor and Newton metallic range, and there was a I think it was called something like electric blue, I think. Unless I'm mixing that up with my friend. My friend had some mascara that was called electric blue. that fascinated me. Here's our Hermit. I mean, just look how gorgeous. Pentacles is one of my favourites in this deck. Not Pentacles. I'll show you the Pentacles, why I've said it. That's the wheel, sorry. But look at, oh, here's our Hangman. I love that as well. So this prompt is hello again, you know, but it's an old deck that we love, that we have always used, or that we've brought back out and started to use it again most recently. But this one I pick up quite often because, as I said, it's not left my my reading space in 5 years. I just use their metallic green on my lights. It's from the Winsor & Newton metallic range. Here's the star. Gorgeous, just gorgeous. And I had this deck out when I had my wall display. Here's the Ace of Pentacles. Just look at that. Oh, and the 2 is right next to it. So do you see in the 2 of Pentacles, we've got the little ship on the water with the rough waves. So there are those nods there. Yeah, Simon. So Pagan Otherworlds is one of 2. Can anybody guess what the second tarot deck is? I've gone on about it for many, many times. I've had it for 5 years. No, this one I got in 2017, 4 years. This one I got at the back end of 2016 before I had a channel. I've got this before I had a channel. But I love it. And it appears in my top 10 all-time favourite tarot decks. Oh, you just did it. It still hasn't dried after a day, though. This blue one was still giving me ink after about a month. They will keep them out, but it will eventually, but it takes a long time. And blue dye was still coming off on my hands after about a month. The fountain. Oh, Ben, it really is one for if you've got any sort of tarot collection, Pagan Otherworlds is it's a must. And I wouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that it's always going to be available either, with it being independent. Eros disappeared. They brought it back, and I was able to, because I was gutted that it, by the time I got around to getting it, it had gone, but they brought it back. Jeparidze, can't spell the deck, no. Laurie knows me well. It's Anna K. This is a deck, and this is the indie. So I haven't had this one since 2017, but I had the mass market one. But because I love this deck so much, I decided to get a backup. And then when I heard it was via Ben, Bijam Ben, I haven't seen him for a while. I hope he's okay. When he was getting the Lenormand, the Anna K. Lenormand, and said that, oh, you can also still get the tarot. I was like, you can still get the indie version of the Anna K, even though it was released by Llewellyn. Oh, we won't go there. And it's smaller and compact. So if we look against, again, the templates, it is wider. How can I show it best to show how wide it is? Well, firstly, the size difference. But it is wider by a little bit, just a little bit. But I love Anna K. It has, it doesn't have pastels, and it's not, here's our fall, and it's not garish. So we've got yellows, but you've kind of got that soft mid-tone colours. Everybody's saying hello to Joey. So hello, Joey. Yeah, so really soothing kind of mid-tones to it. I know people have gone on about the faces are a little bit odd, but I quite like the faces. They remind me of the boy off the Mad comic. But I love this deck. The cardstock of the independently produced one is incredible. Really incredible. These are the backs, by the way, which I really like as well. Do you know what I really love about this deck? It's an honest deck. It isn't fluff. It's an honest deck, and I've had some really honest readings with it. It doesn't gloss over anything. Look at that. Look at that for the Eight of Swords. It's one of my favorites. It's all in the mind. All in the mind. Odd is good. Oh, you think it's odd? I love this as well. Oh, perfect Ten of Swords. Look at that. Walking away. Injured, scarred, maybe, but walking off in a new direction. Leaving those wounds behind. What? What, Caroline? What? What's Caroline said? Simon, would you believe I never got the Anna K deck? It's always been on my wish list. We'll have to have words. No, I'm never, my job isn't to tell people what decks to get. My job is just to talk about decks that I enjoy, decks that I like to work with. You know, and if other people see them and like, oh, I mean, there's this, I take it in the spirit it's intended. You know, the whole Simon made me do it tag. It's an honor when people say that, but I know that I haven't made anybody to do anything. So when I say things like, oh, you really need to get this deck, you don't need to get this deck. You don't need to get any deck. But we do that, don't we? Like, oh, you really need to go and see this film. Oh, you really need to try root beer. You don't need to. But it's because we get excited and passionate about things, or we have great experiences working with certain decks. I love this High Priestess card. So they're matte, but they have a nice feel to them. I love this compared to, I mean, look at that as well. Isn't that perfect? Three of Pentacles. Actually, the work that he's doing is on that window. It just brings me so much joy. It really does. I love it. Here's our Hanged Man. Judgment is one of my most favorite Judgment cards ever. Really beautiful. Look at that. Oh, so when people talk about near-death experiences and going through a tunnel and a bright light, and rather than just being called up out of the graves and this trumpet being sounded, it's just and that could be anybody's belief, that doesn't have to have a particular religious connotation to it, because whether that's nirvana, whether that's the Christian heaven, whether that's the summerlands, people from all around the world and all different religions and cultures have talked about having similar experiences. So yeah, Anna K is a deck that has never ever left my desk, along with the Pagan Otherworlds. Here's the Moon card. Your job is to force people to buy decks because people have no free will. It's ridiculous, isn't it, really? Some people need to give other people credit for knowing their own mind. That's what my response. How you doing, Elle? And there's the Tower. So just an incredible deck. Love, 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 love it. And I like the fact that the titles are really inconspicuous. They don't distract from the art at all. Oh, strength. It's just beautiful. Really beautiful. Here's the Greece card. Big up body diversity as well. I love our Empress. She is, buxom and beautiful. Such abundance. Look at that. How poignant. Our Four of Swords. The Death card. Beckoning. And we'll finish with the Hermit. So there we have it. So that is the Anna K. Came edged because it was indie. It did come edged, didn't it? Don't think I did that myself. It's too neat. Although I would have edged the Llewellyn one. Does that answer your question, Chris? I'm not sure what Chris's question was. I can't find it. I see Chris laughing, but I can't see the question. I missed it. Sexy death. That's how I'd want to go. There are sexier death cards, though, aren't they? So that's the first prompt, which is hello again. The second prompt is getting to know you better. So this is a deck that you've had, but you're exploring on a deeper level. It can only be one, which is the Shimmering Veil Tarot. Because, and I'll explain why. This deck in particular, this is the deck by Cilla Conway. Oh, I'm so excited about her Old Gods Tarot. I don't know if anybody's seen, but Brian Cormac Carr interviewed Cilla Conway. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. And she intimated that the Old Gods Tarot could be out as soon as October next month. I've seen some of the images on her website and it looks incredible. The Mages has 3 different gods in each card, representing 3 different kind of religions and cultures. And Hiya, anyone else got the spread machine deck made by the same person who made Panda Tarot? No, I've not heard of it. Sorry, Billy. So yeah, it's coming out soon. But anyway, I love Cilla Conway and I love her art. And this deck in particular, I remember last year in 2020, right at the start of lockdown, Cilla, I was really fortunate because she sent me this deck because she'd seen my review of the Devas of Creation, and she's since brought out another oracle deck called the Multidimensional Devas, I should say. But this deck, the Shimmering Veil, works on the 8 kind of dimensional vibrations, 8-dimensional worlds, realms, however you want to talk or refer to them. Look at that for Judgment. And it's the shimmering veil that separates the 8 different dimensions. But the artwork is so evocative. And it's only happened a couple of times before. Somebody mentioned Japaridze earlier. It happened when I did a walkthrough of the Japaridze tarot. I had a visceral reaction where I could hardly talk doing the walkthrough because it struck me on such a deep level. And it's absolutely beautiful. But the reason why I chose this as getting to know better is because, again, it's on my desk and it's been on my desk since I got it last year. Every time in fact, as well, there is a beautiful little book, again, showing off my legs. I know where every box is, you know. It comes with this little book. And Cilla said in Brian's interview, I'm not a writer. If she's not a writer, then because this is written so beautifully, the way she describes each card and then you get your meanings, it's just beautifully written, poetically written. I absolutely love it. And she does a whole thing on the suits. So even, and it's rose petal finish, even the deck's worth getting for the book because it's incredible. Look at that. Again, it's not too intrusive. We've got the symbol in the bottom and the number. So this is 2 of Cups because that's water. So 2 of Cups. I mean, it loosely follows a Rider-Waite-Smith. She used the Rider-Waite-Smith as the framework, if you like, but also used her intuition along with that. And I think Jen said I've got the full set. I have too. Her first deck, she started in the early 1970s, which was the Intuition Tarot, and it was released in the 80s. But incredible. And then she did the Byzantine Tarot with John Matthews. And her artwork is so versatile. It's wonderful. I want to show you the lattice because I think it was going to be called the Crystal Lattice Tarot. That was its working title. Our 2 Fools. So we get a Fool, which is 0, and a Fool, which is 22. And you've got the white kind of innocence of the Fool chasing the butterfly or going after the butterfly. And, you know, showing that sort of naivety, that kind of pureness, that innocence, and then becomes the golden Fool and holding one of the crystal lattices, which represents these 8 kind of, that's just beautiful, 8 dimensions. Here's our moon card. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just incredible? I just love the tiny little soul there as well that's in the clutches of the devil. The death figure. every time I pick this deck up, I get different. It's just incredible. You can read a card one day and then pick it up. This was the first card, even though it's our High Priestess. She didn't start with the Fool. She started with this card, and that's the lattice, the crystal lattice. And then it became our High Priestess card, and she's holding these dimensions. This is the Hermit card, and she sent me a print, an A1 size print of this, which is framed and hangs. I'm looking at it now. It hangs on my over my sacred space. She was just so lovely about everything. Justice card. If you look up E8, the 8-dimensional lattice of consciousness, this is what it is based on. It's a bit of a mind fuck, but really interesting. Yeah, and then there's something that's written that's quite scientific based, she was saying, that actually said that there's 11 dimensions, but it's dimensions of the mind. And that's what the multi-dimensional day is based on. So this is based on the 8 dimensions, but 11 dimensions of the mind. I think that's how it was explained for multi-dimensional day was. And the colors are gorgeous. And again, cardstock is phenomenal. This is the 2nd edition. This is my card of the week, because in the Hermit's Cave Facebook group, we are on 7 of Wands week. So we've done all the majors. We're now working through our first set of minors, which is Wands. And I posted this. I just love this kind of leap of faith to grab this wand here. It's just, incredible. So yeah, the 1st edition that she brought out, and they're both in the same year, didn't have the holographic edge into it, but everything else, the cardstock's the same. Really, really beautiful. So that's the Shimmering Veil, which is the Getting to Know You Better prompt. I love the Strength card. The lion is just stunning. It is. And then the 3rd prompt is, excuse me, pleased to meet you. A new arrival you've not had chance to work with. Now, this was the hardest category for me, because in the last couple of weeks, there's been 3 tarot decks in particular that arrived, I think, within a 24-hour period, which is the Chakra Healing Tarot by our lovely Malamia, Brant's Moon Baby Tarot, and then there was another tarot that I got the day before, which was called the Transient Light Tarot. And I've been working with, because I can only work with 2 decks at once, morning and night, and I've been working with Malamia's and Brant's deck. So the Transient Light, with the exception of a card pull last Saturday in Cuppa Catch Up and Cards, is my pleased to meet you, because I haven't had chance really to work with this deck as much as I'd want to. And this is a deck that is a gender neutral deck. So we don't have things like High Priestess, Emperor, Empress, and the courts are all renamed as well. So our Emperor here is the Defender, for example. Look at this Strength card. Isn't that beautiful? We have Vessels for Cups. Oh, here's our 7 of Wands for 7 of Wands week. So, yeah, and I love the Ace of Vessels, that message in the bottle. I like the aesthetic for this deck. When I first saw it, I didn't know if I would get on with it, but I really do like it. I like the simplicity, the symbolism within this deck. Cardstock is really, really nice. It was Deanne over at Blue Crescent Tarot that kind of turned me on to this deck. So we do it for each other, you see. We're all enablers, aren't we? They do have past, present, and future cards, which I've used. The way I've used it is, I did do a reading that way as well, whereas I shuffle them into the deck, and then as I lay them down, it's the card that comes after. So if I, for instance, present was here. So if I go to present, then my present is the Crown of Wands, which is the King of Wands in a traditional deck. So if I go through like this, because I've still got future to find. Future is the Four of Wands. Ooh, I'll take that as my future card. But again, in relation to the reading, etc. So that's how I've been using the past, present, and future cards. But yeah, I've not had a chance to really work with this deck much at all. So that was it. That's my hello again response to Kasha, the lovely Kasha over at Tarot Map. I'll leave these out because I'll pull a card from them at the end. I just want to go back and see if I've missed any comments, because we've got a couple of minutes left. This hour and a half has flown by. But if anybody's got anything they want to ask or anything like that, pop it in now in capitals and I'll come back. I'm just going to have a quick skirt through. Simon, how are you liking Psy cards? I received my deck and book. I'm loving decks so much. I brought a backup copy of the deck. Wow. I am enjoying using it. I haven't used it as much this week as I wanted to, but I did use it last week. So I just got a little bit dry throat there. But yeah, it's great. And I can't believe that for so many years, I kind of, you know, passed it up a couple of times. I passed it up that I've seen it in shops and things, but that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes decks have their moment. And that's why I'm reluctant to let decks go, because with the exception, I think, of one, which was the English Magic Tarot, I've ended up buying them back. Even Dreams of Gaia, I keep looking at in the bookshop and thinking, shall I give you another go? And I think that's because I bought the mini pocket one and really enjoy it. But I gave that one away. I gave that to Brian Cormac Carr at the first Tarot meetup. So I'm just looking for capitals or my name tagged. Anyone else got the spread machine? No, I answered that one, didn't I? I've not heard of the spread machine, Billy. Oh, and Anna Kay is arriving on September the 13th to my home. That was quick work. He was like, I still don't have this deck. I wonder if Ben from Beneficial Tarot beat you and ordered the Pagan Otherworld. I love seeing people excited about things they love. Becca and Beth. What's Becca and Beth excited about? It's meant with love. Actually, Simon's walkthroughs helped me eliminate decks. Exactly. And that's why I always do walkthrough videos, because I remember if I'm debating on a deck, like if I keep thinking about the Dreams of Gaia, I'll probably go back and watch a walkthrough. In fact, Kelly at The Truth in Story and Patrick from The Living Wheel did a fabulous joint video together going through Dreams of Gaia. And that's what made me buy it originally. But, you know, it could be that I go back now, a few years into that journey, and look at it again and think, actually, no, I don't need to scratch that itch. So they work both ways, and that's the purpose, isn't it, of a walkthrough video, for you to decide whether you actually want it or not. And we still don't get the full picture, even if we see every single card. I mean, I talked about the Pagan Otherworlds being a real tactile experience, and it is. That doesn't come across when you're watching walkthrough videos. It always got bummed by some of the deck. Okay, today is Anna Kay Day. Did you get the indie from Anna Kay's website, or did you get the Llewellyn version? Simon, would you believe? Oh, that's the one. Oh, Aspasia says, Anna Kay is my ride or die. She's always next to my bed and travels with me. Yeah. Anna Kay, which is Clawfinger. The K is for Clawfinger. Anna Clawfinger. I think she's from... Is she from Switzerland? I think it's Switzerland. I can't remember now. But that's the thing with the Anna Kay. I can't describe it, you know, where I just can't put it into the box and onto the shelf. She's got to be on my desk. She's got to be grabbable, you know, grabbable. All right, let's see if I've missed any other comments near the bottom. Malamir, congratulations, just check your debt. Malamir's done a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. Phenomenal. I can't speak either. Phenomenal job on the chakra healing tarot. Such good quality. Simon, I appreciate your visits to bring us together. Thank you. I like it's a two-way street. It really is. I always feel great after I come off my lives on a Saturday. Highlight of the week is this time at the weekend. Simon, I got the mass market. It's still a great deck. It really is a great deck. Larger cards, and it's great. Thank you so much for your video on the Tarot Vintage. I ordered it as soon as I finished your video, and they're starting to ship now, I believe. I'm seeing more and more people getting it. I don't know why we got it earlier in the earlier than like the US. That's quite rare. So yeah, maybe it's because Lo Scarabeo is in Europe. Austria, and yes, Austria. Yeah. I want to get the Anna Kay Lenormand just for the dog card. The Anna Kay Lenormand is wonderful. I've got the Anna Kay Lenormand. Don't use it as often as I would, but because I was ordering from the seller, from Anna herself, I thought, well, while I'm here, I may as well get both. But yeah, it's great. I like the Stalk card. Pamela's just ordered Anna Kay Lenormand and Tarot deck. I have the Llewellyn. I'm still here. Couldn't leave with Anna Kay discussion. Yeah. All right. We've come to the end. Shall I pull a card? Shall I pull a card? I always pull a card. So yeah, but it's been lovely, even though it's been a very bittersweet hour and a half. I really appreciate everybody, you know, engaging with the minute silence and things at the beginning. That was really nice, and I could feel everybody's love. Oh gosh, I can't shuffle today. What's up with me? Who made Tarot Vintage? Was it Kickstarter? No, Tarot Vintage Suggs is by Suggs. It's called you Suggs, like the lead singer of Madness. Sluggo is by Lo Scarabeo. So it's mass market, but it's a gorgeous deck. I don't know actually if I've got it to hand. It'll be up. Oh, it's bear with. So this is Tarot Vintage. It's Lo Scarabeo. It's got beautiful colours. Has these backs, the roses and lilies, blood and orange backs that we get on the Pamela Coleman Smith. But it has these gorgeous browny orange tones, which is really, really nice. I mean, look at the wings on the Temperance card. Cardstock is really nice as well. The Magician lot. So I really like the coloration of this deck. It's beautiful. And it wasn't expensive, less than £20. And it's a Rider-Waite Smith, but it's been recolored and given this kind of vintage feel. I'm trying to find the star card because that has a beautiful blue I love that blue. Really love it. Yeah, same with the Two of Swords. Beautiful deck. I got this at the same time as I got Pam's Old Deck by Conrad Stein. I edged this in like a similar kind of colour tone. Can you see? Pam's Old Deck by Conrad Stein. And because I got them around the same time, I preferred Pam's Old Deck. And it was Robin from Toadstool Tarot actually said to me, which do you prefer out of the two? And I was like, well, they're both so different. It would be a bit unfair to do that, but I did it. And yeah, so I didn't use it as much, but I have since used it, and I had it in a little Cali pouch, and I took it to work with me, and it was in my work bag a few times as well, because I get into work early, so I can sometimes do my daily drawers before anybody gets in. The mini version is our dirty Pam now, yeah, because they've gone back to how it was originally, the Radiant Wise in the mini. Unfair comparisons. Yeah, they are. They're very different. But of course, because they're an RWS in its truest sense, you know, it's Pixie's artwork, but they're different. They are different. Okay. Let's concentrate then. So, something to focus on. I keep getting a noise, but I've got Do Not Disturb on, so I don't know why I'm getting a noise, but okay. Oh, we have the Six of Coins. Loss and gain. Card of loss and gain. Well, actually, rather than loss and gain, it's more about giving and receiving, isn't it? And so a message for us for this week is there's a shift in power when it comes to loss and gain, giving and receiving. Sometimes, and it can be on the turn of a dime, sometimes we have that that fortune, if you like, where we are in a position to offer some assistance, whether that's financial assistance or a helping hand, or, you know, we're in a position where we can do that for other people. But what this card asks us to consider is our motivation for doing so. Why are we doing what we are doing? Does it come from a genuinely good place, a place of compassion, a place of empathy, a place of not doing it for altruistic reasons, you know? Is it coming from the heart? And we also have to, when we are in that position to give, we have to use discernment about, you know, the type of resource that we are giving, and, you know, how it's going to be received. So the card is, where are we now? You know, are we in a position where we can help? Then let's help. Let's offer that helping hand, but make sure it's coming from a healthy and a good place. But also we might be, you know, in a position where we need to receive. And that is something that I always find hardest to do. I'm comfortable in giving when I can give, but I'm uncomfortable in the situation where I might need to, and I never ask, you know, even family members or parents, when I've, even a few years back when I've really struggled and I've been at rock bottom, I've not been able to ask. And that's a failing in me, because that's pride and it's ego, and that they don't serve anybody really. So, you know, we have to be receptive as well, and we have to be open and realize, you know, that our fortunes do change. And sometimes, whilst we might be in a situation to receive, if we can receive and we receive with an open heart in gratitude and appreciation for that person who is offering to help, then that's what karma is all about. There will be an opportunity as well where we have enough at some point to be able to pay forward. So, and this is what this card is about, isn't it? Sometimes we have, sometimes we don't, but it's what we do with that and how we process it, and our state of minds, and our open our hearts is in that situation too. Give and take, yes, give and take, absolutely. I'm putting it in my calendar. Ooh, what's going in your calendar? Okay, so thank you for being here today. It's been incredible to be with you all. I'm not, we've done the 1 minute silence, but as I fade out, there will be that picture there just for those who are perhaps joining us a little bit later or partway through, just to have some time to sit and to acknowledge and pay tribute. So thank you for being here. Please remember, next Saturday, the lovely Candy from Candy's Soul and Soil will be joining me for catching up with. Same time, Saturday, 4 p.m. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.